Welcome to MLA's Presale Pulse. This is our October edition. Thanks for joining us. We're excited to talk about everything real estate, both in the Metro Vancouver as well as in the Fraser Valley areas. Today is all about making sure that you feel like you have your finger on the pulse, as well as making sure that you're leaving this episode feeling real estate intelligent. I'm joined today with my co-host, Susanna Goncalves, real estate maven, to chat everything marketplace.
Maven, I like that. I'm gonna use that.
I think that's how you say it too.
I think so.
We're going to be, through this episode, touching on some of the macro indicators that we're seeing in the marketplace. We're going to hit some of the local stats. And we're also excited to share some of the upcoming projects that are making waves all throughout the industry. Now, of course, all the information that we're sharing with you today is all down below, so click on those links. If you have an opportunity to subscribe, first of all, we love the thumbs up, high five there. And the other part of that comes is the subscription to both our newswire, which is a daily update of a roundup of all of the hottest real estate articles in the industry. You also get access to our Presale Pulse, which is a monthly edition, as well as unparalleled access to the hottest projects that we're going to be launching over the coming months. So let's hit that like button. And Suze, why don't we jump into the stats? All right, so let's start macro. Over 5,700 transactions between the Fraser Valley and the Lower Mainland in the past 30 days. That's just unprecedented territory. We're seeing a surge in home sales across almost every single marketplace. We're going to jump into some of the details of what that means, neighborhood by neighborhood, but for the most part, we're very surprised by the demand that we're seeing throughout. COVID cases, these are still running in the United States. We have over 200,000 deaths now. We're obviously seeing a lot of discussion as election rolls around, and this is one of the hottest topics that's being debated. We're looking at the stock market. Of course, it's begun to slowly roll back from some of the highs early in September. And then when you look at a more national front, we're seeing COVID cases continuing to surge in Ontario. We're just under the 800 cases per day. New cases in the last 24 hours, which was reported out of the East Coast. And all of us are thinking, what does that mean for us locally? And when are the restrictions coming? For the time being, we've been really impressed with how well Vancouver's been performing and managing both in social distancing, but then also supporting the communities and all of us doing our own part to make sure that we play an active role. Susanna, why don't we talk pre-sale?
Sounds good.
All right. Let's start with the report that we gave last month. The expectation was that we would see approximately 506 homes come into the marketplace through the month of August. In September, that number jumped up to 583. This is fantastic because what we really noticed is that it was across a wide range of product offerings. So we have both concrete, 2 projects that launched in that form. We have wood frame apartments, both 4-story and 6-story. And then we're also seeing some townhouse offerings hit the marketplace. That's wonderful because it's showing steady increase. What we're really excited about though, and what we're going to be paying very close attention to, is what comes in October. We have 1,164 units that are anticipated. The majority of that is in concrete in really important neighborhoods like Burquitlam, West Coquitlam, and other parts of the Lower Mainland that traditionally have been a little bit more silent over the past 9 months. Some of the projects that we're really excited to spend some time on today, we're going to hit on SoCo and all the success that they've seen. We're also going to touch on Kin and some of the awesomeness that's come out of their project over the past 2 weeks.
So let's take a closer look at those 583 units that were released into the market in September. So 36% of those homes were absorbed. So the way we track that again is for the projects that are released, the inventory that's released in that month, how much of that was absorbed. 36% this month. We haven't seen a number that high since before COVID. So continuing to see the trend move in the right direction as we've been sort of talking about month over month. That means 209 units were absorbed, and as you kind of touched on, most of that was Kin by Beatty, their townhome site in Burnaby, as well as SoCo by Anthem in West Coquitlam. What was also interesting this month, and a bit of a change, is that we didn't actually see any new projects released in the Fraser Valley. They've been on a run the last few months, and this is just a blip. We fully expect that to change in October and moving forward. But given that market has been so active, it was nice to see that we were able to fill the market supply with some projects in other areas that we haven't necessarily been seeing. That of course includes the condo market, as you touched on, the concrete in particular, and we're really excited to see what's going to happen with that over the course of the next couple months.
Let's just quickly deep dive into a couple of those projects, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's first start off with SoCo. So this is a huge high five, I think, to Anthem and everything that Alva and her sales team have been working hard on. We love seeing the success that North Tower is generating right now, 273 units. And we're seeing somewhere, although, obviously there's no official share here, but it seems like they're trending somewhere between 70 and 100 doors. That's probably one of the most successful concrete launches that we've had in the past 90 days. That's wonderful. And then when we also think about kin, this is the huge surprise, I think, because you have some small format and some large format townhouses. We had an opportunity of connecting with Sunny Ham, who oversees sales and marketing just a few days ago, and they have been just incredibly taken back by the support that they've had, both from the local buyer and then also from some that are reaching a little bit out of the neighborhood and maybe choosing a destination that's a little bit further east than what they would have been not too long ago. But for the most part, you're seeing 124 units there. It seems like they're somewhere around 100 strong to 105 strong. That's wonderful at really good price per square foot. Feels like they've done a really good job of trying to manage all of that demand and doing their very best to support the community from the ground up.
Yeah, it's not often that we see townhouse communities pre-sale quite this well and this far in advance of completion. But I think this really speaks to the continued desire of our market. They're looking for more space. And we're going to touch on that a little bit later as we go through the resale stats as well.
Also really excited about Habitat, right? This is the third project that we're keeping a close eye on. There's certainly other projects in the Metro Vancouver area that we think have significantly more inventory. Habitat being 70 units, it's wood frame. What's fantastic about this one is that it's a Main Street Mount Pleasant offering. We think that that's really interesting because we haven't seen any inventory hit here in some time. It's from our expectations, price is going to be of incredible value here, and it's going to be fantastic to see how they fare over the next 30 days. All right, so let's jump into those 1,164 doors that are coming in the next 30 days. I think the first place that we have to start is in the concrete product type. We're excited about this.
Definitely.
I think a lot of the focus is going to be around what's happening in two specific marketplaces. Coquitlam is going to be one of them. West Coquitlam and Burquitlam. These are loaded with inventory. There's about 3,600 doors that are at some point in the next 12 to 14 months in a position to launch. There's a few that are first out of the gate. We already spoke a little bit about Anthem and their huge success over the past 30 days. We know that High Point's in the process of going right now by Ledmac. Our hope is that that continues to push up both offering and some of the awareness of this neighborhood, because it truly is going to be one of the more amenable neighborhoods with access to everything that we think millennials to our downsizers are looking for. We're also really excited about some of the concrete that we have close to Marketplace. Apex coming now or in the next 30 days. Yes. We're excited. So far, we are quick out of the gates. We haven't released the current numbers, but we are so taken back by the interest, and that is fantastic to see. And then, of course, we can't get out of concrete without talking Cressy. These guys do it as well as anybody in the industry. We're so privileged to be a part of this program. Format's going to hit hard. So far, the prospecting has just been wonderful to see, and we know that there's a lot of deals to be had there over the next 30 days.
Yeah. Interest has been really high, and also nice to see Cressy doing concrete in the market again. It's been a little while since their last project, Chelsea and Cambie Corridor, and I think the market's really taken notice. We have a lot of people who really value and appreciate the Cressy product, and so the interest for Format has been a bit overwhelming so far, but we're excited to move through that product over the next 30 days.
I had this great conversation with Jason earlier in the week, and he was talking about how the millennial is such a powerful mover today, and so much of Format is centered around that buyer that is looking potentially for both lifestyle and value, and that is something that Cressy always delivers hard. So loving the fact that so many of our interested parties are anywhere from that age of 27 to 39. We think that we have an incredible demographic and an incredible offering for them.
Okay, so let's talk about the resale data that we're seeing coming out of MLS. September was another massive month in terms of sales transactions. We saw over 3,600 transactions in the Greater Vancouver area alone. That's a 56% increase over a year ago in September, and a 44% increase over the 10-year average for the month of September. So those are big numbers. If you think about the last couple of months, we were already excited about the fact that we were just over 3,000, and this jumped up another 600 transactions. So that's incredibly powerful and speaks to the level of volume that we're seeing. The other interesting thing here is that the inventory level actually decreased slightly, just down over 1%. So clearly demand is outpacing supply, and that's going to have some consequences as we move forward.
Suze, let's talk single family detached just for a few moments. You look at North Vancouver right now, and it feels like so many close relationships that I have. I know many of the friends that you have, they're all considering the shore as a really great alternative for families. We're also seeing a similar note across the east side. Both of these markets are trending incredibly well. North Van up almost 12.5 points over the last year. The east side up almost 9. That's incredible. But then you take that step back and you look at the broad market, and key neighborhoods like Burnaby North, Burnaby South, even Port Coquitlam, all of these neighborhoods for single family detached are really running. And a big part of that is just this flight towards lifestyle and flight towards square footage.
Yeah, and of course, Squamish and Whistler have also been extremely active in the last couple of months, and they continue to outperform as well.
So Suze, when we take a step back and we look at the overall HPI price, about 12 months ago, it was hovering just above $980,000. Today, it's pushing just past $1,040,000. That's a very fair amount of escalation in an appropriate amount of time. We feel like that is a repeatable marketplace. Trending up, it's about 0.3% month over month. And for the most part, that's a 5% increase over those 12 months. That's something that we're very happy about. It's certainly a far cry from what we saw in 2015 and 2016 with the marketplace was double-digit returns month over month. But then we're also noticing some of the marketplaces like Whistler and Squamish that we just spoke about hitting at 4.7 and 5.2% increases in the last 30 days. And that is not sustainable. And so a lot of our energies are spent right now trying to understand what markets do we feel are undervalued and what are the markets where there's opportunity for growth.
So let's get into the sales to listings ratios now. Overall, everything's in a seller's market. Everything's above that 20% threshold. We've got condos at just over 25%. The townhouse market, which we've been talking about for months, continues to hold strong at just shy of 40%. That seems to be very consistent. And then the one to really take notice of, as you were talking about, is the single family market, the detached market, at just over 27%. That's a 76% increase over this time last year. And as you mentioned, that really was the bottom of the market. So that number has moved significantly. It's also the highest number we've seen in the detached market since May of 2017. So definitely a leading indicator around what's happening in that single family market, how that market's going to continue to run, and then of course the trickle down effect that we will expect to see coming out of that.
Suze, let's turn our attention a little bit further east. Let's talk about the Fraser Valley. 2,231 transactions in the month of September. That is the hottest September that they've ever had on record. And when we look at year-to-dates of January to today, 2019 versus where we're at this year, we are 2,000 more transactions. It just speaks to the volume of residential real estate moving in that marketplace right now. You have approximately 3,500 new listings that have also signed up in the last 30 days. That's important because our listing supply is absolutely being pulled back given the rampant rate of absorption. Our expectation, though, is that listings are going to continue to drop because it does feel like even moving into the early parts of October that pace is still being maintained throughout different neighborhoods in the Fraser Valley.
Yeah, and the single family market really was responsible for 47% of those transactions, which again really speaks to this flight to square footage. People are not tied to their commute in the same way that they were 12 months ago. We're spending more time in our homes, of course, than we ever have. We're all looking for a little bit more space, a little bit more breathing room, a place to actually work from home in a setting that's really conducive to that. And I think that that's really ringing true here. And then when we go even further east, Mission and Abbotsford, their sales transaction numbers were over 100% more than they were last month, which is incredible, particularly in the townhouse and the single family market. And when you go even a step further than that, Okanagan, their listings, all significant or similar gains, massive transaction increases there. Same thing with Vancouver Island. This is clearly a trend that we're seeing all over the province, flight to square footage. So then when we turn our attention into pricing, we notice that the single family market, of course, it increased just over 8% this past month, over double what we saw in the townhouse and condo market. That was just over 4%. We'll watch that closely to see what that looks like month over month, because as a 12-month period, we're just over 5% price appreciation. And again, we really like that number from a year standpoint. That's very sustainable. And so we're going to be watching the next few months very closely just to make sure that things don't escalate too quickly.
And that lands us into our sales to listing ratios. As you've shared earlier, this is one of the best ways we can really understand the true force of the marketplace and that supply-demand intersection. Similar to where we were last year, there's no question that the Fraser Valley continues to outperform Metro Vancouver. Single family detached is at 32.9%. That's a few points higher than what we saw in Metro. Condominium sitting at 26%. And then of course our townhouses, these are sitting at 42.5%. One of the strongest markets across Canada right now. And that really speaks to the highest dollar volume of residential resale sales for townhouses ever on record for the Fraser Valley.
So I know we've kept everyone a little bit long today, but there was one sort of trending topic that we wanted to touch on. Obviously, in the month of October, the most important thing that's going to be happening are a couple of elections. I'm not totally convinced we needed our own local election right now, but we're going to have one. The last election, of course, was incredibly close. NDP, minority government, obviously they're trying to vie for a majority now. It'll be really interesting to watch what happens. It'll be interesting to see what the voter turnout is, and of course, if they do get in, the NDP brought with them certainly some demand side measures to sort of cool the market back a couple of years ago. And what'll be interesting, of course, this time around is if the market continues to ramp up the way that it has, any measures that get put into place will need to look a bit differently, because our market right now is very much end user driven, it's locally driven, and so it'll be interesting to see how they manage that.
You know, Suze, you're absolutely correct. Those demand measures that were pulled on some time ago, so much of them focused on very small groups within the current buyer mix. We saw taxation towards foreign buyers and foreign ownership. We also saw policies that are specifically aimed, some call them a wealth tax, but speculation and vacancy taxes that had a huge impact on our marketplace. Our expectation is that it's hard to imagine how we could push those levers or pull on those levers anymore. And so that means that most likely we'll see provincial and federal set the gaze potentially on the more active parts of the market. Today, that is going to be those that are buying condos, single family and townhouses for the purpose of living in them themselves. And so our expectation could potentially be that we're going to start seeing levers pulled when it comes to lending rates. And some of the requirements around borrowing, potentially also a reallocation of density from foreign market into the rental marketplace, just to be able to support a stronger affordability message throughout parts of Canada.
And if I could just add to that, I think if there's any takeaway from today, probably the most important message we can leave you with is please get out and vote. It is critical. It is our duty. It is particularly important right now. Obviously, getting out of COVID, the economy is a top priority for a lot of people. It's going to be really important that we continue to have a thriving economy here, that we can attract top talent, that we can support job growth here locally. So it's going to be really important for everyone to get out there and vote. So please, 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 if that's the one thing you take away from today, make sure that happens this month.
Suze, thank you so much for that very positive message. I'm going to do my best to stay neutral in politics right now. But to all of our subscribers and viewers, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to just remind you one more time, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, we love that. And most importantly, give us some feedback. We're hoping that you can help share exactly what you want to see on these Pulse videos. If you want to talk market stats, if you want to see more project stuff, if you want to see Suze in a cape, you let us know and we'll make it happen.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. So thank you for joining us and looking forward to seeing you next month.